Another unique side of Kaziranga.
India is the largest, the fastest growing large economy of the world. And India is also the largest country in the world in terms of population. Cities are growing rapidly. We are very privileged to have with us the Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas and Urban Affairs to talk more about these subjects and also about how New Delhi is prepared for this mega event. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. Firstly, let's say that a new India is leading the G20 as president, and we are going to be having this event at the Bharat Mandapam. How does the Bharat Mandapam reflect this new India?
First of all, let me thank you for having me on your program. It is I who is feeling privileged. Number one, that we are the world's largest country in terms of population. The fact that we are a fast-growing economy. In fact, I saw the figures for the last quarter, and it was a mind-boggling 7.8%. The fact that India is on the rise, that we arrived on the moon, and literally we are all over the moon. The fact that the world is looking at India, not just because we have the Adhyakshta or the presidency of the G20, but it is a country which has set a new template for how to provide leadership to the G20. It is a country which itself is on the way to being one of the three large economies in the world. It's a country which wants to be and which will be a Viksit Desh by 2047. And therefore, the G20 is just one more occasion. It provides a platform for India to demonstrate to the world what it has done and what it can do. And therefore, I would start by saying that the G20 itself will gain strength from this. The G20 was born in a moment of crisis when the world financial and economic crisis was on, 2008. And the world and the multilateral institutions and the UN, the World Bank, the IMF, they did not know how to deal with the crisis. So the G20, which used to be a grouping at finance ministers level, was upgraded to heads of state and government level. It was born in a crisis. The London Summit in 2010 helped restore a degree of normalcy in the global economy. And after that, the next major crisis has come, and it has coincided with India's presidency. You're looking at three broad crises: food, fuel, and fertilizer. And in this, India has navigated and has a story to tell, I think, most countries in the world.
And I asked you also, since your ministry is the nodal ministry that has constructed the Bharat Mandapam, in that context, this is the first major event that's taking place there. What is the real message from that?
Well, thank you very much. The Bharat Mandapam has been unveiled to India and to our people. But you're right, the first major event for which the Bharat Mandapam has actually been, we would have needed this, we would have needed the other big center which is coming up some distance away. But I think the Bharat Mandapam will stand out. And this is, I'm not saying this because the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, supervises the CPWD and the NBCC, which was the constructing arm, but because it will stand out, as will our parliament, by the way.
Yes.
It will stand out as one of the landmark conference venues in the world. And I say this with a degree of confidence. I've had the privilege of being a professional diplomat for nearly 4 decades. I've traveled around the world. I've seen many top-class conference venues, and I have absolutely no doubt that the Bharat Mandapam which was visualized both conceptually and otherwise with hands-on inspiration and leadership provided by the Prime Minister, will stand out as one of those major conference venues which will be talked about also.
If we talk about our cities, we already have mega cities, and there's going to be a greater need for cities since there's a lot of urbanization taking place. In fact, Delhi and Mumbai, some people say, are going to be the largest cities in the world, maybe not in the not too distant future. What's the future of the Indian cities?
Well, first and foremost, before you get to the Indian city, I think you should talk about urbanization. Contrary to what is generally believed, India was regarded by the West as a reluctant urbanizer. And if you look at the levels of urbanization, India is still only around 40%. Rest of the world is at 80–85%. So urbanization in India is a relatively new, robust phenomena. Many before 2014 neglected the urban space. I've been on record to say that neglect was criminal. Today, you have a Prime Minister who saw the challenge and who grabbed it as an opportunity. And today, India is not only fast urbanizing, but it is doing sensible urbanization. Delhi and Mumbai, which you mentioned, I am not sure that they will be the world's largest cities, because I've lived in Tokyo, I've lived in some of the other cities. What I can tell you is the national capital region of Delhi, which Delhi is the core. And as Minister for Housing, I'm also chairman of the National Capital Region Planning Board. But I want to give you a statistic which would leave you and your viewers hopefully impressed. This is a study by a group called McKinsey, which is well known, which had anticipated a few years ago that between the time they made this study, I think a few years ago, till 2030, India will be building something between 700 and 900 million square meters of urban space every year, which is the equivalent of a Chicago. Now, you say, my God, one Chicago every year, but if you look at what's happening around you, it's not difficult to point out to.
Yes.
You call Delhi one of the largest cities. I don't know what the population of Delhi is. Maybe your viewers will know, but the population has to be over 2 crores.
Right.
And if it is over 2 crores, that's 20 million. And it could also be 3 crores. Now, bulk of Delhi is being rebuilt. Why do I say this? You have the colonies were built in the 60s. They all need to be rebuilt. You have Jahan Jhuggi Wahi Makan. You've got land pooling. So what you see around you, the Central Vista or the new Parliament or the new government buildings which will come up, these are only one part of it. You'll have all the DDS colonies after a while being rebuilt. So there is a massive rebuilding effort. But what is important is that rebuilding effort is anchored in sustainable green technologies. So the Prime Minister announced an entire year to be the global housing technology green challenge for a whole year, based on which 53 cutting-edge green technologies were shortlisted, and we built 6 lighthouse projects providing for residential space for 1,000 people to be built in 1 year.
So and that must be clearly on the G20 agenda and the urban 20
well, if
agenda.
you look at if you look at the urban 20, what it says, I mean, I have the urban 20 declaration. I had a feeling that you would ask about it, so I brought it along. The urban 20 communique, it's very interesting. It talks of localized global sustainability agendas, create a framework for sustainable and just transition that leaves no one behind, enable whole of society behavioral change towards environmentally responsible practice. All your schemes are that. In 2014, the total amount of waste we produced in the country, based on statistics and data which the states have given us, we were reprocessing only about 15 to 17%. 17% is what they claim, but I don't want to be misunderstood. There's a little bit of padding when the states have to, write their own report cards. So if 17, 18%, I put a discounter by 1 or 2%, it's 15, 16%. Today, my friend, we are reprocessing over 76%.
Right.
That gives you an idea. Then water. And because, I'm so happy this resonates with my young friends, because you were not reprocessing the waste, what were you getting? You were getting these legacy dump sites going up. So now you're doing remediation, you're bringing those down, you're converting that waste to wealth.
Absolutely.
As one point.
Sure.
But more than that, water. Today you take water to every tap in the country. Urban, rural, everywhere. Now that's a very major improvement. But I'll give you another one. It's a very interesting statistic. You know, in the year 2014, I'm sorry I'm jumping a little, but just to characterize it, 45% of our homes in the country were still resorting to coal, wet wood, and kerosene as a cooking medium. So only 55% homes had, gas cylinders. Today, that figure has gone up from 14 crores to 33 crores. Plus, we've added something like 23,000 kilometers of pipeline for piped gas to come in. So what happened? You did not reprocess your waste. You only reprocessed 15, 16%. You did not have water in your households, in your taps. And more than that, you were still resorting to, firewood, charcoal for cooking. I'm just giving you 3 examples.
Sure.
That is a fundamental change.
So clearly the government is working on lifestyle for the environment, life, as the Prime Minister says. But this is part of your Urban 20 communique as well. What is that behavioral change, what is needed for people to change their behavior from the people's point of view?
First and foremost, I think that behavioral change was most evident when you did the Swachhta campaign.
Yes.
I mean, the Swachhta campaign was a project of the government. It became a Jan Andolan. It became a project of the people. So today, when you do a Swachhta Sarvekshan throughout the country, small, big towns, cantonment areas, no matter where, there is a sense of pride. People call me and tell me that, this is not fair. I think we should have got more marks for this. So I said, it's a citizens' consultation and Janta decides where you're going. But today, I can say with confidence that the level of Swachhta that has crept in, don't measure it by the number of toilets we build. That's also important. I had to build, I think, about 65 lakh community and public toilets. We've done 110 or 120% of that. We had to build several individual household toilets. We've done way beyond that. Now we have another interesting phenomena. Even if it's not government land, people have private land, they expect us to build toilets there also. I mean, it's a complete change in that. Right. But more than that, today you have an app where if you go somewhere and you find kachra, all you have to do is upload it, send it. Not only will somebody be taken to task for not having attended to it, but you'll get a compliance report very soon. And by the way, it's 6 years, I think, day before yesterday, that I completed
in the Ministry of Urban Affairs.
In Housing and Urban Affairs. I used to be asked, what's happening here, what's happening? Nobody asks those questions anymore. They're now going to the second level. Swachh Bharat Mission Rev 2, 2.0, and Amrut. What was Amrut? 500 cities with a population of over 1 lakh. They were to be provided water tap connections, sewage disposal, all those things. Between Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 and Amrut 2.0, the government in the revised schemes has provided for provisioning of 4,71,000 crores to be spent. So the government is both acting as provider, incentivizer, and it's all the more remarkable when you consider the fact that land is a state subject.
Right.
So Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, sewage treatment, reprocessing, all these schemes, smart cities,
right,
all of them are doing because the government steps in with an incentive and the states are co-opted in a spirit of cooperative federalism.
What's the right balance, considering that India is the fastest growing, a large economy of the world, and we need energy, we are dependent on fossil fuels. What's the right balance?
We had to face 3 issues. What I call the trilemma. Okay. Availability. At no time in the last few years was there even a slight shortage of any form of energy. I mean petrol, diesel, gas, anywhere. Even during the torrential rains, the area of the northeast, my colleagues in the oil marketing companies were taking gas cylinders on their shoulders and delivering them through the floods. Affordability. World prices were on fire. In the neighborhood, they went up 70, 80%, petrol and diesel prices. In the US, they went up by 30, 40%. Elsewhere, India, the petrol price was not only not increased, came down by 5%. Diesel price by 0.67%. How did we do it? We reduced the central excise, the Honorable Prime Minister did on 2 occasions. BJP's ruled states brought down their VAT. So today when anybody talks of prices, I said, वो जो non-BJP states हैं, उनको कहिए वो भी थोड़ा कम करें. Then gas. We brought down, we were giving Ujjwala consumers 3 free cylinders during the pandemic. They're getting 200 rupees per cylinder as a subsidy. We brought it down for 200 rupees for everyone else. But the more important thing is sustainability, availability, affordability. You know, our sustainability journey has just got accelerated. It's very interesting. In 2014, in spite of the best efforts of the previous government, they were able to achieve only 1.5% biofuel blending in 15 states and union territories. Only 1.5%. They wanted 5%.
Okay.
Mr. Modi inherited, the Honorable Prime Minister inherited a figure of 1.5%, set himself a target of 10% blending by November 22. We did that 10% 5 months before time. And we have a target of 20% blending by 2030, which the PM has brought forward to 2025. E20 fuel was introduced in April. Today we have more than 3,000 petrol stations
On ethanol.
on E20 fuel, that is 20% ethanol mixed. If you look at CBG, compressed biogas, CNG, industrial uses also. If you look at the green hydrogen journey, you'll find that green hydrogen is also
Absolutely.
in mission mode.
While you were talking at the G20, Urban 20 on environment and climate sustainability at the working group, you said that ecology and economy can work hand in hand. They are intertwined fundamentally. Can you explain yourself?
The kind of consciousness that you've got, people just get shocked if you want to just cut trees. If you need permission, you'll have to get permission for a replanting of trees. You will have to produce more green cover. When we produce Kartavya Path, I mean, I keep saying, why 30% greenery has been added to the Kartavya Path. But seriously, if the ecology part of it is missing from the economic growth thing, that economic growth is not worth it. Because you will either suffocate.
Right.
Therefore, what are we doing? Our ethanol plant, 2G, which is second generation, which came up in Panipat some time ago, is making ethanol from agricultural waste or parali. Instead of people burning parali and suffocating you and me sitting in Delhi, we make ethanol out of it. And I believe we've got 5 such 2G plants in the process of being constructed.
So what is the capacity that we have actually to produce from waste, wealth?
It's going
as
up. See, I'll tell you what.
It should be very high indeed, isn't it?
It should be, but you need to do some very simple things that you need to aggregate. For instance, people have just become conscious. Just when the Swachhta campaign started, a lot of people said, हमने कहा भाई वो कचरा पड़ा हम इसको ले जाते हैं. नहीं ना, आप तो कचरे से you'll make wealth. हमें भी दीजिए. So people started charging for the kachra to be removed. It's an ironical situation. So today, when we started the first, second generation ethanol plant from agricultural waste, I had to speak to the Chief Minister. I think we had to set up an ecosystem, and I think the Honorable Chief Minister provided a 1,000 rupees per kilogram, per ton payment, so that people would agree and that agricultural waste could be aggregated and used. So we'll have to find local solutions, but they are being found. Let me give you a rough count. To do 20% blending, which was a 2030 target, which we are now going to do by 2025, we need 1,000 crore liters of ethanol. I'm very happy to tell you that we've already reached about 550, 600 crore liters. If you add biodiesel to that, you get another 100 crore liters. It's very interesting. In India, the sustainability journey also helps other parts of the economy. We have diversified the feed. Now it's not just from sugar cane, it's also from makkah, from maize, it's also from agricultural waste. The third generation plants also have from gases and so on.
To what extent, are we likely to see greater South-South cooperation in the energy sector?
See, I think it's very wrong to look at energy as a equation between producers and consumers. I think it's wrong for a variety of reasons. Because I think the issue really here is something else. The issue is, if you move from fossil fuels to a transition, the equations change. If India can be a success story in ethanol,
right,
whether you make it from maize or you make it from agricultural waste or you make it from gases, I don't see why other developing countries can't be. I was recently at a conference, I think in Goa, when we had a visiting minister from Africa, and she said that they're having a climate summit meeting, I think in September, or already probably is taken place or will take place. And she requested an Indian delegation to go there. So we sent a delegation comprising our industry, private sector, and some of our OMCs to share our experience. And I was happy to find that many of these private sector companies are already operating there. So the Indian experience is, I think, a more than relevant experience for countries of the global south.
We'll open the floor to questions.
My question is that as to have a clean and smart future, we need to switch to solar energies and sustainable sources of energies. But because they require a lot of maintenance and a lot higher skill set than the usual skill set our people have right now, do you think it somewhat discourages people to switch to solar energy and stuff?
Today we are in a very dynamic situation. For me to produce green hydrogen, which by the way is going to be the fuel of the future, what do you need? You need cheap green energy, which is exactly what you and I are discussing. It may not be solar. I know of a company which takes water 2,500 feet into the air and then from a mountain just drops the water and produces clean energy. And you need an electrolyzer. Look, you are still very young. Well before you are in midlife, you will see some phenomenal changes taking place. And those changes will be in every area. I could never imagine that between Brazil, India and the US in the next coming few days, we'll be setting up an international biofuels alliance. That constitutes 85% of the world's biofuel production. And with the US and Brazil very big, the only country left out would be one or two. Now, what will be the biofuel alliance? Biofuel alliance will ensure you will deal with issues relating to definition, what constitutes a sustainable biofuel, what will be the standards which will apply to it, what will be the other around. So isn't it a great thing that India is now part of that? I mean, look, please read the Honorable Prime Minister's article, or rather the interview he given to PTI on the equation of G20. Look at the change which has come in India. I mean, digressing a bit, you were food importers, you were PL 480. Today, you know, when my colleague puts in a little restriction on rice exports, it's felt all over the world. You're a major food provider.
Right.
I can think in the coming years, you will be a major provider of green technologies.
We are going towards the clean energy. Like ethanol, it's a very good idea because even I had represented government on parali burning and all that. And lot of air pollution in Delhi near Diwali festival and all that because of parali burning and other issues. So can we just intensify our Jan Bhagidari, that is people movement, so that we can go forward with solar energy and cleaner modes of energy?
The simple answer is yes. That's exactly what we are trying to do. Because these kinds of paradigmatic shifts and transformational changes come only when people who are the stakeholders in the ecosystem also collaborate. And I see enough collaboration on every front. Maybe you need to accelerate it in one or two areas, but that's it. I think we're doing it.
You know, New Delhi is all spruced up, looking great. From the urban point of view, as a city, how prepared are we for all these delegates to come down, and what do you expect from the city going forward?
Let me preface what I'm going to say is there are a lot of people around who will take the credit for keeping it clean, and green and etc. I don't want to get into that debate, but I'm 100% confident that with the kind of arrangements that have been put in place by the Honorable Prime Minister and all the authorities involved, we are not only ready, prepared, but it will be a very successful gathering of world leaders. And then, of course, I'm quite sure, as you are, we will maintain the city at the same level of cleanliness and splendor after the event is over. There we'll all have to put in an effort also.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Minister Hardeep Puri, Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas and Urban Affairs. Thanks very much
for
spending this time with us.